Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Purple Elephant Podcast channel. I'm your host, Janora. So, today I wanted to talk about exercise and how it actually exposes the leadership style, how the two connect. Um, so recently I decided to join Pilates and do a lot of strength training. It's very important as you get older to really work out, to really build strength. I definitely don't want to be an older person that's having knee problems or an older person that's falling down the stairs and breaking their hip. So recently, very recently, I have gotten into doing Pilates. I've gotten into doing strength training and working out with a lot of weights. And so I want to talk about that funny story and kind of tie it in into how I realized, oh, this could actually translate into a leadership problem as well. Right. So have you ever walked into a room and immediately thought, I have made a terrible mistake? That was me. A few weeks ago, I decided that I was going to become, one of those women that doing Pilates, that's working out all the time. Again, not really for vanity reasons. If I end up losing weight and toning up for because of it, that's great, but really more to build strength. Really important. Like I said, as we get older, our muscles start to decrease, our bones start to get weaker. And I just want to be a healthy person. I don't want to be an old person who, like I said, breaking a hip or in the hospital all the time. I want to be strong. So I show up to Pilates class. This is my first Pilates class. I'm so excited. I have a bottle of Poland Spring. I'm wearing an oversized t-shirt. I've got my biker shorts on. And I made sure that I went straight to the back of the class. Because I thought I know that this is probably going to be a little difficult, being that it's my first time. I want all eyes on me. I headed right to the back of the class, got my own little spot. Um, I love the class. I did, and I'm going to continue to keep doing it every week. But I was humbled. Absolutely. Here I am thinking that Pilates is like this gentle movement, low impact, which it is, but it works core muscle. So anyway, I walk into this Pilates studio. It's beautiful. Everything is spotless. Everyone seems calm. People are stretching like graceful gazelles. And, meanwhile, I'm looking around trying to figure out, all right, this big machine, this reformer board, it has all these weights and things on it. And I'm like, oh my God. So I've never seen a reformer before. I've done floor Pilates where you use your own upper body strength, but I've never done reformer Pilates. So reformer Pilates, imagine like a bed, right? But the bed looks like a torture device, like a medieval engineering device that has all these different hooks and things coming out of it. So I'm staring at it and I'm thinking, do I get on it? Do I sit next to it? Is there an orientation video? So everyone already seems to know exactly what they're doing. Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out whether the machine is meant to torture me or is it meant to transport me to another dimension. So the instructor starts giving directions, feet in straps, neutral spine, engage your core. And I'm just still trying to wrap my mind around this hard bed thing that moves with your body weight. So we're in the class, doing it. I'm managing it pretty well. A little motion sickness with that reformer board, but it's okay. Then she says, everyone left. So everyone lifts. I don't. I don't lift. My body basically looked at my brain and said, yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So then we switched exercises. She demonstrated something that looked really elegant. I attempted it. Somehow I looked like a confused flamingo trying to parallel park. Uh, you know, it was funny. Um, but here's what's really funny to me. Nobody was laughing, right? Nobody pointed. Nobody even cared. In fact, everybody else was so focused on surviving their own workout that the only person judging me in this workout was me. And that's when I realized something. This actually wasn't a fitness class anymore. It had become an identity crisis because somewhere in my head, I had decided if I'm not immediately good at this, then maybe I don't belong here. And I'm wondering if that sounds familiar to a lot of you because organizations do this all the time. And that is today's purple elephant. Organizations love hiring experienced people, people with credentials, people who have impressive resumes, people who already know what they're doing. And then we tell ourselves we hired great talent. But this is the hidden leadership problem that's coming up. The minute someone doesn't immediately know something, and they quietly begin wondering if they belong and if they even made a good hiring decision. And it's not because anyone said it, but it's because the culture, the organizational culture is saying it without words. And leaders often miss this completely. We assume that silence means confidence, but sometimes silence can just mean fear. So think about your newest employee. Imagine walking into your organization day one. Everyone already knows each other. People use acronyms for words that they've never heard before. Meetings are moving fast. Inside jokes are flying around the room. Systems that they are not used to are being talked about. Processes that nobody's really explaining, but everybody already seems to understand them. Policies that everybody apparently knows, except for you, right? You are this new person in this new environment trying to remember these names. You're trying to figure out where the bathroom is. You're also pretending that you understood the last 5 minutes of the last conversation you had or the last meeting that you were in. And you have to ask yourself, how long before that employee starts pretending? Because just the truth, most people don't stop asking questions because they don't care. People stop asking questions because they're afraid that they're going to look stupid and they're afraid of being labeled and they're afraid of slowing everyone down and they're afraid of confirming this fear that's already in their heads. And the biggest fear that's standing out to them is they're saying, maybe I wasn't the right hire. And that's the purple elephant. Leaders think my employees aren't speaking up. Employees are thinking to themselves, I'm just trying not to embarrass myself. And then you've got two completely different stories going on. So back to Pilates, around the middle of class, I looked around and everyone just seemed very confident. Even one girl that was there was like, oh, this is a breeze because I've been an athlete all of my life. So, everyone just seemed to know where to put their straps. Everybody knew the routine. And everyone seemed to flow effortlessly from one exercise to the next. And I had this thought in my head, maybe everyone else belongs here except for me. And then class ended and people started talking. And one woman laughed and said, I've been coming for 8 months and I still can't feel that room. And another person said, I fell off this machine my first week. And someone else admitted, I almost quit after my second class. And another person laughed and they said, I promise we've all looked confused. And I was like, wait, so what you're telling me is that the people that I thought had it all together were all making mistakes at one point too. So I created this story in my head, but the story that was created wasn't reality. It was perception. And organizations are filled with employees living inside of those perceptions. And so here's what great leaders understand. Confidence isn't something that people just bring into an organization. Confidence is something that leaders build. Every question that's welcomed builds confidence. Every mistake that's treated like learning builds confidence. Every I don't know that's met with curiosity instead of judgment builds confidence. Every manager who says, that's a great question, instead of, you should already know that, changes the culture one conversation at a time. So psychology and psychological safety doesn't just happen because you say, hey, my door is always open. Psychological safety in organizations happen because people actually believe that walking through the door is safe. And those are two different things. So imagine if my Pilates instructor had rolled her eyes every time someone struggled. Or imagine if everyone sighed whenever someone asked a question. Or imagine if people whispered, how does she not know this already? Do you think I would go back to that class? Absolutely not. Of course not. So now you have to ask yourself, would your newest employee want to go back to an environment like that? So here's the purple elephant that's hiding in plain sight. Many organizations think they're struggling with employee confidence. They're actually struggling with newcomer safety. Employees don't become disengaged because they're incapable. And many just become disengaged because somewhere along the way, they learn that it's safer for them to stay quiet. It's safer not to ask questions. It's safer not to volunteer. And once that happens, innovation slows and communication shrinks, and then the mistakes start to get hidden and people stop growing. And it's not because they don't care. It's because they're protecting themselves. And the tragedy is leaders often interpret that self-protection as laziness or a lack of initiative when it's actually a lack of safety. So yes, I am going to go back to Pilates. And I'll probably still be confused and I'll probably still be shaking when I'm trying to balance all of my upper body strength. I'll probably still be wondering why my legs are trembling when they're barely moving. Seriously, how can someone ask you to move your leg 2 inches and suddenly your body starts negotiating with itself? But I am going to go back and I'm going to remember something much bigger. Every expert that you admire was once a person who had no idea what they were doing. The difference is they stayed long enough to become comfortable. And so the questions for leaders is this: does your workplace make it safe for people to stay long enough to grow? Because every behavior is telling you a story. And the question is, are you listening? So if this episode made you think differently about leadership, hit subscribe, give this video a like, share it with another leader who believes onboarding is more than paperwork. And I'd love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, when was the last time you felt like a complete beginner? Maybe it was your first leadership role. Maybe it was your first day at a new job. Maybe like me, it was standing in a Pilates studio, wondering if you were about to exercise or accidentally launch yourself across the room. Because here's the truth. We never stop being beginners. The best leaders simply remember what it felt like to be one. So I will see you next time as we uncover another purple elephant hiding in plain sight.